I'm going to go ahead and get started this morning. Welcome to the Office Add-ins Community Call for July. Everyone, thank you for attending. Good morning or good evening based off your current time zone. My name is Preethika Kiruveedula. I'm a product manager at Microsoft, and I will be hosting today's call. On our agenda for today's call, we will be going over the top 5 AppSource validation errors from the period of March to May of 2023. And our presenter for today is Elizabeth Samuel, who is a senior technical writer at Microsoft. Elizabeth, did you want to take over?
I will, thank you. Good day to
Great,
everyone.
thanks.
Good night. Okay. All right. So today we'll be going over these AppSource validation errors from this time period. We actually sent out a blog post in June, and that's basically what we'll be going over, the content of that. So these top 5 errors were that the additional service or account was not disclosed. We had some confusing first run experiences, missing links for sign in, sign out, or sign up. It could be that it's just one of them is missing. You would need testing instructions that the validators can just go through without having to come back to you, or the provider name in the manifest is not close enough to the publisher name in the listing to make it clear that these are the same companies or entities. All right, so more details. Additional service or account not disclosed. So one of the things you need to ask yourself is if your add-in requires additional services or accounts. If that's the case, you need to let your users know, and you do so by including that information in the description so it shows up for the add-in. Is there a dependency that needs a payment? You also need to indicate that in the setup. So that way in the add-in description, again on AppSource, when it shows up, people will know, oh, this may need an additional payment or some form of paying. Okay. So next up, about the confusing first run experience. You need to find out if your add-in has a clear value proposition and a seamless first run experience. From the start screen, it should be pretty clear what the add-in is supposed to do for the customer, what are the benefits, and it doesn't have to be, a book. It could just be a few lines, just a few statements on the start screen. Do they need to sign in or sign up to use the add-in? What's the benefit to them of that additional account or service? However, if your add-in targets larger organizations or enterprises, you can indicate this on the notes of certification. Later on, I'll talk a little more about what targeting enterprises means and how you can indicate this in the notes. But in this case, if you do not provide a first run experience because it's this type of add-in, then on your UI, in your add-ins UI, you should include a link or an email so that users can find out more about your services, since you won't really explain it in the first run. Okay, missing links for sign in, sign out, and sign up. Again, if your add-in depends on external accounts or services, you need to make very clear sign in, sign out, or sign up experiences, actually all of them. The only thing is if you have an add-in that targets enterprises or large organizations, then you again indicate that this is an add-in that targets enterprises, and you don't need to provide a sign up experience in that case. Okay, so as I mentioned, enterprise only. So there's a whole bunch of things that you're actually exempted from if this is an add-in that targets enterprises. What's not required? A sign-in experience for external accounts and services, especially if they're using something like single sign-on. It's not managed by your add-in or anything like that. They can sign in otherwise, or it's managed by the company. Then in that case, you don't need to provide this. the seamless first run experience and the value proposition, because in that case, you need to provide some information so that the person can contact you if they're interested in learning more about what your add-in provides. In the notes of certification, you can say something like this: the add-in isn't providing a sign-up link because it's targeting enterprise, and this is a policy that refers to. So you can totally do that or something similar. So if it's not providing a sign-in experience, then you could say some version of that text in your description. Okay, testing instructions. This is really important because if this is unclear or not adequate information is provided, this can come back to you needing further instructions or more information. So as far as possible, if you can provide as much of this as makes sense for what your add-in does, what are the usual scenarios, what does somebody need to do in order to go through all the scenarios in your add-in. So you need to provide the instructions, you need to provide any product keys, credentials, accounts, anything like that. You provide those samples in the notes for certification. If you have more complex scenarios that it's not really obvious if you try to talk it through, then you can also provide screenshots. Or if you want to make sure that these instructions are available to subsequent submissions, then you may want to use the additional certification section and upload a PDF with the screenshots that illustrate the steps with any instructions that you want persisted. So these are options that you have for providing testing information. Last but not least, provider name and the publisher name. So what you need to check is the manifest that you uploaded to Partner Center, the provider name element in that manifest. Consider what that is. What did you set it to be? Please don't have it be Contoso or Northwind or any of the fictitious ones that we provide by, in default. Make sure you've updated it to your own company name or whatever you call your entity. Then consider what the name of your publisher, the publisher ID, what names associated with that in your Partner Center account. And while they do not have to be the exact same thing, like I'm going to use Contoso, and Contoso, but you need to make sure that they match up and it's clear that, for example, let's say in my add-in, I say this is something from Microsoft, and then the other thing says Microsoft Corporation. Well, it's, we can tell it's basically the same company. So that's what we're looking for. They can't be Contoso and Northwind. They're not the same in any way. And it's not obvious that they are connected. So that's the kind of thing we're looking for, that you make it really clear that these two things are from the same source. All right. And here are some resources that you can use. These are the main policies. Some policies other than these may apply depending on the situation which you're adding in particular. This is all of the policies, marketplace certification policies, Office Store Apps checklist. So we have a couple of checklists and step-by-step guides so that you're ready to publish and submit successfully. And as I mentioned, this is based on a blog post that we put together using the information from March to May, and we published this in June. All right, so that's it for me. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Elizabeth.
You're welcome.
All right. I will now be going into the Q&A section portion of this call. So starting out, our first question was, we are just starting to build our first Word add-in, a writing assistance tool, but already have requests for Outlook and PowerPoint. We saw that for Outlook, a new desktop client will be released next year. As such, we are wondering about the roadmap and aligning APIs potentially, so that ideally for what we are trying to do, a single API would support all Office 365 applications. The answer to this is Office 365 provides APIs which can be application specific or common across multiple applications. Please find more details at the link that is provided here. Any API which is built for existing Outlook clients would be available for new Outlook as well, and there will be no additional work needed. Our second question of the day is, what is the status of pinning admin deployed add-ins to Outlook Web, as was discussed in the Office add-ins community call in March of 2021? We need deployed add-ins to be immediately visible to users and not hidden, requiring digging to find. The answer to this is we still currently do not support pinning of admin deployed add-ins to Outlook Web, but we acknowledge the request. We would get back on timelines with this one soon. This question is, do we have any API to extract a PowerPoint selected slides alone? For this question, we need more context here. For example, what exactly do you mean by extract? We do have APIs to get selected slides of a presentation that could be found at this link here. But in regards to what exact functionality you're trying to implement, it would be great if you could either add another question into next month's community call questions, or if you could provide more information at a GitHub feature request link. For this question, it is, we are currently developing a text enhancement add-in for Word with the objective of offering it without any online account requirements. Our aim is to ensure that the add-in operates locally, thereby eliminating any concerns for professional and administrative users about their data being uploaded to an external server. However, in order to implement the add-in, we need to store some configuration information locally. This information should be independent of the document that the user is working on. We have explored the settings in custom XML part APIs, but unfortunately they only save settings in the current document, which is not an optimal solution. Hence, we are inquiring about suggestions on how to store these settings. Our answer to this is you should try the Runtime API 1.1 Office Runtime Storage Interface. This is a Microsoft Learn site that you can get started from. It is an asynchronous, global, and persistent key value storage. For this particular question regarding developing a spell checker add-in, I will not be going to saying the entire question in this call because we are wondering if we could get more information from this partner. In other words, we can get your contact so we can continue having messaging more frequently so we can understand your request in more detail. For this question regarding message encryption, what is the status? Are you talking here about SMIME? Also, is this to be supported on mobile form factor? We plan to add support for message encryption as a part of our initiative to close the gaps for column scenarios later this year. You can refer to the API to replace body on read, which is already available for preview at this Learn Microsoft link. We don't have timelines for mobile support yet. This question is, will there be any support for mail sent/receive events? We don't have support for mail sent/receive events yet. However, you can use the on message send to see if an email is being sent at this link that goes into the details on how you can get started on doing that. This question is New Outlook now the equivalent of the previously planned One Outlook? Yes, New Outlook, mentioned as One Outlook in previous calls, is an initiative to bring a new, modern, and simplified design to your Outlook app. For this particular question, we have a VSTO add-in deployed to 2,000 plus users. Now we have built an Office.js-based add-in. How to remove existing VSTO add-ins after deploying this new Office.js add-in? Is there any standard way? There's no particular standard way, but here's a good starting point you should try. It's how to manage add-ins in the admin center for deployed add-ins specifically. So hopefully this link will be able to give you a good direction. Lastly, the question is, will the item send event in Outlook continue to be supported? We're considering moving to the on message send and on appointment send events that have been put off by the fact that the dialog is not customizable. After the user clicks the send button thinking the email is complete, we display a custom dialog with the purpose of promoting the user to recheck the email again to remind them if they have forgotten anything. We're still investigating this answer. We'll get back to you on timeline soon. It'll either be in answer to the next month's community call or in the subsequent blog post. All right, so that was all for our Q&A today and all for our presentations. But once again, if you're new to Office add-ins, here are some quick links on how you can learn more about Office add-ins in general and the community call. This is a link to our documentation, a couple quick starts for all the different hosts, Outlook, Excel, Word, PowerPoint, how to get started with Script Lab, the samples that we support. You could always join the Microsoft 365 developer program if you'd like to be more involved, and also a link to the Office Scripts docs. If you'd like to engage with our team for technical questions about Office add-ins, feel free to go to this aka.ms link here where it's Office add-ins dev questions and post any questions you have there, or also update it on Stack Overflow. We also monitor that pretty regularly. And for product bugs, feel free to go to this GitHub page right here and go to the Office.js repository and submit an issue. It'll then be triaged by someone on our team, and we will try to get an answer for you. For feature requests and ideas, we have the M365 dev suggestions. So if there's something you'd like to see in our products for Office add-ins, feel free to submit a feature request or an idea on how we can always improve at this link. And you can always send a quick smile or frown at Inside Office just to give us a broader view of how you feel. And regarding our other developer community calls that we have for Microsoft 365, we have the platform call, the Power Platform Development and Viva Connection SharePoint Framework call, the Identity Platform, and of course the add-ins community call. And we also have a Power Platform call. If you would like to learn about all the calls and assets that we have under the M365 developer community, feel free to go to this aka.ms link here and it'll give you more information about all of the calls that we support. All right, thank you. The recording will be soon at the Office M365 Community YouTube channel. Feel free to follow us on Twitter. Our next call will be August 9th at 8 a.m. Pacific time at this same meeting invite. And the agenda will be hosted here, and you can always submit your questions for next month's community call at this Office add-ins form. Thanks for joining, everyone.